Hello and welcome to the time management lecture. You don't have to take notes. Obviously, you can always scroll back, pause, or see something again. After all, it's a video. What is time management? Time management is something we use for two things. We want to get control over the amount of time that is used for certain actions, and thereby we are increasing our efficiency and productivity. So we use time management for control and efficiency at work normally, but you're welcome to use it for your private life as well. There is an immense sense of satisfaction in a well-planned holiday, so feel free. Time management comes in 4 different levels. At the simple level, you use an alarm clock to wake up in the morning. That's already fairly well managed time. It beats sleeping in and missing the train and missing the lecture and missing everything. You may take it a step further and even keep a diary or a calendar or planner where you write down different times for different things that are happening throughout the week, the month, the year. You could go all high-tech and do this with the use of electronics. There are nice calendar functions everywhere people can use these days. And the highest level is if you do all of these. Right? So if you can wake up with an alarm clock in the morning and keep a calendar and use your computer to organize your life and who knows what else, you are already conducting time management at the highest possible level. The time management system as such is a designed combination of processes, tools, techniques, and methods. So if somebody is trying to sell you a time management system, look for these. It's got to have processes, tools, techniques, and methods. If it doesn't have it, it's not a time management system. And these are the aspects of time management. You need to know skills that are available to you or the team, whatever you're doing your time management for. Any tools that may be at your disposal. Some of these tools may be at your disposal at all times. Some may not be. Techniques. How are your tools going to be used? Tasks. What is the chain of tasks that is to be done? And what actually are the projects? Sometimes you might think that you're doing one project, but really it's 4, because they all require independent errands and intermediary evaluations and what have you. There's got to be a goal, and it's usually more than one, and there'll be a due date. Let's get organized and do time management, okay? So we need 2 things here. In time management, we only have these 2 main aspects. We've got our strategy and we've got our follow-through, and that's it. The strategy means that you are becoming aware of your funds, the money that you have at your disposal, the means, the resources, any visions, which means, where is this going to go, who may be involved, what do you want out of this, and then the agents, who's going to help you, who's going to carry this out. So at the strategy level, you are planning, you're allocating your funding, your dollars, your resources, whatever. Goals are being set, and you delegate what is done to whoever does it. And once that's on its way, you can sit back and dedicate yourself to the follow through. The follow through consists of all these questions. Somebody who is a time manager, if you will, if you're going to time manage something, you will ask, are we on schedule? Are we achieving? Are we progressing? Does everyone have what they need? Honestly, if you're a manager, you're more like a waiter. You're running around making sure everybody has what they need. Are the intermediary goals clear? And by when they should be clear? And what is important and what can wait? So these are all follow-through questions. You're also analyzing the time that has been spent because you need to know what's still left. And also, if you know how much time something took this time, you will know how much to give it next time. You need to monitor what goes on for many different reasons. You're organizing all this as the manager. You're scheduling stuff. Yeah, if it's a design project, you're scheduling when the 3D prototyping is available, when the SolidWorks license is available, blah, blah, blah. And you prioritize. You tell whoever you need to tell what to do first, second, fourth. So this is the whole picture. This is what goes on in time management in detail until the project is finished. There are some topics related to this that I thought you might find amusing. I've dug up a few interesting words that we know from the world of time management. One is the so-called action item. An action item is a point on the to-do list, a task, an activity, an action, and it can usually be handled by one person. So when you're making your time management plans, you are listing your action items, and your action items are things one person can do alone. Some people prefer not to say they don't know when it'll be ready. So they'll say it'll be ready at 4:32 African time. But it's just a way of saying round about that time. We don't really know. This you might find interesting. The chronemics are the study of the use of time in non-verbal communication processes. There is this whole interesting cultural side to how people perceive time, and it varies from culture to culture, and it affects things like punctuality, people from a certain culture's willingness to wait, their interactions with each other and others, lifestyles, daily agendas, the speed of their speech, movements, how long people are willing to listen. These are all chronemics, and I apologize for the very hilarious spelling error we have here. We have two different kinds of cultures, monochronic and polychronic. Not polychromic, unfortunately, like I've written here. So they're not multicolored. They are simply, poly in their perception of time. I'll show you what that means. So the monochronic people do one thing at a time. Concentrate on the job. Take time commitment seriously. To them, a deadline is sacred. They need information. It's all low context. They're very committed to the job. They adhere religiously to plans. They're concerned about not disturbing others. They follow rules of privacy and consideration, show great respect for private property, seldom borrow or lend. They emphasize promptness and are accustomed to short-term relationships. So this is us Westerners, isn't it? I mean, this could describe a person in Britain, Sweden, Germany. That's how they are. And then there are the polychronic people. And you'll probably find that this kind of mindset is much more prevalent in southern nations and in developing nations, in places where things are a little less well organized. And the people who are accustomed to this kind of environment, they will do many things at the same time. They are very distractible, subject to interruptions, and they don't mind. They consider an objective to be achieved if possible. It may not be possible, so they may not consider. They're high context and they already have a lot of information, committed to people and human relationships, change plans often and easily. They're more concerned with those who are closely related than with privacy. They borrow and lend things often and easily, and they base promptness on the relationship. So if they like you, it'll be quick. If they hate you, you can wait 2 years. And there may be a strong tendency to build lifetime relationships. Now, obviously, no one is ever 100% of these, but you will probably recognize yourselves and other people and people you've seen while traveling um, among these. And we are a mix of these, some of us more to one side than the other. Me, I don't know. I think I am really a polychronic person who is trying to be monochronic. You've probably heard about the Gantt chart. The Gantt chart is an invention by Monsieur Gantt, and it is simply a visualization of time use in the form of a table. Very useful. There is also something called interruption science. There are scientists seriously devoted to the study of the effect of disruptions on job performance, and a lot of things can count as a disruption. Email. If you are an email addict, or if your email goes ping when a new email comes in, that is an interruption or a disruption. A phone call is a disruption. Animals coming in are a disruption. Maybe not all animals, but I'd like to see you when you have, I don't know, a tarantula or a tiger coming into your office. Even something nice like co-workers coming by, chatting up for a cup of coffee. These are all disruptions, and it's called interruption science. Isn't that nice? You can apparently save a lot of time if, as a journalist, you think like a reader. So what you can do is you can reduce the amount of time that is required to relay material to an audience by telling a story. It's called the maestro concept. I don't know if you've seen these books, but when I lived in America, I sometimes got promotional books by life insurance companies, and they were written as if they were novels with people having conversations, but it was all just about life insurance. And that's what this was, really. This was maestro concept stuff. So rather than giving you a lot of dry material on what a life insurance does, they made a story out of it. And that really sticks with people and it gets through to them very easily. Procrastination, which we all do, is defined very nicely here as replacing high priority actions with tasks of lower priority. Can you imagine that? So you are actually making a choice. You are replacing something important with something that is not important. And then there is something they call prospective memory. I think we all know this person who goes, I don't need to write this down. I will remember this when I need to. And that is called prospective memory. Remembering to perform a planned action or intention at the appropriate time. People who can do that have what is called prospective memory. So these are just a few fun words from the world of time management for your amusement. Let's see what things we can use directly here from the world of time management. Basically, whatever we are using, it follows these 3 steps. First of all, you create an environment conducive to effectiveness. Then, when you have your environment conducive to effectiveness, you set your priorities, and then you carry out your activity according to these priorities. Let's look at one of those environments conducive to effectiveness. What do we mean by that? We mean if you want to work effectively, you've got to set yourself up for it. And there is a surprisingly high number of things that need to be done first. So let's set that up. This is an illustration of the White House, but I would say this is an environment conducive to effectiveness. They're not doing crazy stuff in there. They don't have cages with canaries, and they probably don't have, I don't know, whatever. This is what you need to create an environment conducive to effectiveness. You need an environment that is fully functional regarding communication, the physical, humans, your stuff, and your framework. So you go through all these things. First, you create yourself an environment where the communication is going to work. Make sure you have all the phone numbers you could possibly need to do this job. Make sure you have all your email addresses, all your Skype IDs, all your postal addresses, all your bank details, who knows, taxi addresses, shared calendar access, whatever. The physical. Have you got a good workplace? Can you meet people there? And can you have a serious, straight-faced conversation about business in there? Keep out any toddlers or dogs, Is it silent? Is it, or at least quiet enough to work properly? Is the temperature pleasant? Have you got all the facilities you need? Yeah, is there a good toilet there? Can you wash your hands? Do you have coffee maker? Stuff like that. And then the human environment. Have you got a team? With that, I mean, do you know who to work with? Is there somebody you can ask if you need help? Have you got somebody else to talk to, and maybe not even just about the job, but you may need, somebody to talk to every now and then. We're humans, which also means you need friends, you need experts, you need colleagues, you need allies who fight on your side. Then the framework. If you work with other people, can you see their schedule? Are you meeting them regularly? Are you sharing your visions? Are the roles clear? Is everybody okay with their pay? And then your stuff. Yeah, do you have your hardware? Do you have your software? Do you have your mobile phone? Do you have money, paper and pens, coffee, tea? Who knows? All this goes into an environment conducive to effectiveness. Once you've got that, you should be good to go. So then we set priorities. What is that? Basically, this is what you do. You establish an importance rating. And you do that by finding out what really counts. What's the big factor, the big thing that everybody will ask about first, and what is not, and that you put at the end. You set and then confirm and reconfirm your deadlines as often as possible. You assign the priorities. So you find out what must be done first at step 1, And then step 2, what must be done first now? Step 3, what must be done first now? And then you create a plan that sees you through to the end, hopefully. There are different types of management, time management. I've found the 7 most well-known ones here. The ABC analysis is not much of a system, in my opinion. But it does this for you. It lets you find the urgent and important tasks, or you try to find the urgent and important tasks, such as the dog needs to go out. Yeah, we know what happens when the dog can't go out. Eventually, you'll have a little pile of poo somewhere. So it is urgent and important that the dog goes out. There may be B, a task that is important but not urgent. So the dog wants to be fed. This may be important because you don't want your dog to die of hunger, but it's not urgent because the dog isn't going to die of hunger if you feed him 10 minutes later. And then there are the tasks that are neither urgent nor important, such as the dog wants to play. Oh, good fun. Maybe the dog can play by himself a little. So this is the ABC analysis. It helps you prioritize, hopefully. There's the Pareto analysis, which is based on the interesting and strange observation that 80% of tasks can be completed in 20% of the disposable time. The remaining 20% of tasks will take up 80% of the time. This is basically one way of saying that the most important stuff doesn't take that much time to accomplish. So you do that first. 80% of the productivity can be achieved by 20% of the tasks. So again, we're saying you don't need to mobilize everything you have to get 80% of this thing done. And overall, it means 80% of results can be attributed to 20% of activity. You probably all have clothing stored at home in your bedroom, and you'll probably find that you are making do on about 20% of your stuff. 80% just sits on the shelves all the time and you never wear it. And that's what the Pareto analysis says. It basically says the main thing can be done very easily. American President Eisenhower gave us the Eisenhower box, which is an interesting classification system as well. It looks like this. So according to Eisenhower, you have things that are urgent and important, not urgent yet important, not important and urgent, and not urgent and not important. And here in these little windows you can see what they are. He came up with this memorable quote: "What is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important." Now, I mean, this isn't always true, obviously, but in the big scheme of things, you may be right. If something really big must be done, then it won't come suddenly. So keep that in mind. The POSEC method is just an acronym, really, and it means to prioritize by organizing, streamlining, economizing, and contributing. You prioritize your time and you define your life by goals. Organizing here means things you have to accomplish regularly to be successful, family and finances, for example. Streamlining means things you may not like to do but must do, such as work and chores. Economizing, things you should do or may even like to do but they're not pressingly urgent, such as pastimes and socializing. And then finally, contributing, by paying attention to the few remaining things that make a difference, such as social obligations, going out, meeting friends, stuff like that. So the POSEC method is nice because it's very humane, and it basically says there is a time and place for everything, and you need to give it space. I think this is a very good model to live by because it takes into account everything you have and everything that must be part of your life so that your life is fulfilled. Yeah. GTD sounds like a turbo diesel. Getting things done. So I think this is more of a quick fix. If you have very visible tasks, if it's not a very complex thing, but it gets you going. So if you can identify what must be done first, well, then you just tick that off your box, and then you do the second one, and then you do the third one, and then you do the fourth one. Pomodoro technique is probably a nice idea if you're a bit of a time waster. It works like this. Pomodoro is Italian, it means tomato. You create intervals, which may be 25 minutes or whatever you like, and breaks. So you might set a timer to, let's say, 25 minutes, and you get something done in that time. And then when it rings, you take a break. So you decide on the task to be done, set your timer to 25 minutes, you work on the task until the timer rings, whether it's done or not, take a break. And every 4 rings or pomodori, you take a longer break. And then there's the time allocation, which is incredibly simple. It just means you write down how much time you're going to use for everything. It's like creating an imaginary time budget, right? You might go, okay, to fetch the hammer, I give myself 3 minutes. To put a pin in location, I give myself 30 seconds. And to put up the painting, I give myself another minute. Something like that. There are a few different philosophies regarding goal implementation. 3 of them, to be precise. In some environments, you will want to have, or you will want to be structured in your goal implementation. So you may create your own scenario, like a paint by numbers type of approach. Some people are more intuitive. I once worked for a company that was very much like that. They just went by gut feeling. They employed all sorts of Eastern philosophy, hippies basically. Or you try not to do too much. This came as a real surprise to me, but a higher ranking person I once worked with once told me that there are situations where you can do more by doing nothing or by being passive and let others do. And the less you do, the more active they will be, and the better that can be, depending on what their skills are. So these are the 3 goal implementation philosophies that you can use. There are some dangers to time management, as there are dangers to everything, obviously. They are: you may be spending too much time on time management administration. Haha. And then you might be asking yourself things like, when am I supposed to work on the project with all that administration going on? It's happening. There may be procrastination because of self-created constraints, which means, yeah, you might be up against maybe your IT people who will be like, yeah, we've created this fantastic thing, but we need to get it to work first. Lovely. Yeah, then you're clearly held back by something that you have created yourself. You can try to be a perfectionist. That is a danger to your time management. If you're formulating your task before you start until it's perfect, you're not really helping you or anyone. You can also fill up your to-do list with routine tasks that don't need mentioning. It may not make much of a bit difference, but it is a time waster. There can be analysis paralysis, so you no longer see the obvious. The sun is shining, but our data don't support this. What do we do? The data conflict with the weather. And, in my opinion, one of the worst things, optimism. And optimism is what happens when you plan and plan, and there's still a bit to plan, but you're going, it'll be all right, it'll be all right. I'm going to have dinner now. That's optimism. That's when you get the car crash. And all should work out fine then. There are some IT tools, as there are, of course, for time management. I've found a few here. By the time you're watching this, there might be more, and maybe some of these no longer exist. But end of the line is there are plenty of these helpers. And one thing that can be good to use generally is a timesheet for all your projects. So it lets you record how much time you spent doing something, and often a company may ask you to do that so you can bill. And that's time management for you. I hope that'll serve you well. All the best, and see you around.